Hello again, and welcome to the next session on leadership. We're now going to get into a deeper discussion on leading others, and we will begin to see how that grows from this understanding of you first. And so, as we begin this discussion, I want to get back into the homework assignment. You had 19 questions that you needed to respond to. And so you'll see on the screen, just as a reminder, the exercise that I asked you to answer each question. There were 4 options. And as you went along at the bottom, then you totaled the score and you came up with this number, next to these letters, DISC. And so what do these letters mean? Is that a good score? Well, we're going to get into an explanation about these letters, and then we'll understand what that score represents. And so to get started, the letter D explains or represents someone who is usually dominant and direct. And so think of someone who is very typically outgoing and task-oriented. This individual with this element is very quick to take charge and make decisions, thus dominant and direct. This person needs appreciation and loyalty. Again, it's a take charge person, and so very quickly this individual wants this sense of you're with me. We're going to do this under my direction, and so that's the attribute, the characteristic of D. This person again is most comfortable with people who support his or her needs, and the one on the downside is that this particular person is not too excited to spend time with people who don't support or demonstrate support. And so as you can see, this D aspect represents someone or a leader. As a leader, if I can begin that discussion, is someone who has a natural ability to be in charge. It just happens, and this person can quickly figure out what does and does not work. And now that's a very special ability, skill that can actually be developed. But many times it happens from just upbringing, experiences, expectations that are placed upon you, typically by your parents, and then in school, and then as you live within the community, your friends. Many times it's Sergio. He's the one that can make the decision. Let's just and so that's how this happens. And so it's more or less it's a response mechanism, oftentimes, but it's innate. It explains how you are and how you demonstrate this element of domination and direction. Now, you'll see on the screen that we also have some recommendations or some areas of in your career later in your life that you can consider if you have this very high developed attribute. And so generally, someone who is a strong D would make a good judge, a magistrate, sports coach, military officer, strategic advisor, a school or a hospital administrator. So, heads of departments, typically this is where this person would excel and to say, in other words, shine, because this is what this person is better at. So that's a D. Let's move on to the I. I represents someone who is usually inspirational and influential. You are typically outgoing and people-oriented. You are awesome at speaking persuasively and creating enthusiasm. You need recognition and approval because you have something to say, and it's always better if, you are accepting, if not necessarily agreeing, but you're absorbing, this communication that's being delivered to you by this person that's an I, a high I. And you are most comfortable with people who enjoy your enthusiasm and your zest for life. You just have this energy about you that, and I often find myself saying this, I just love life, and I just want to just, tell you about it, share it with you. The problem is that not everyone enjoys or appreciates your fun-loving style. Did you score a high score on I? And if you did, it explains a little bit more about, how you are as a person. I am an I. And let me tell you that sometimes I have to remind myself to, just kind of maybe tone it down a little bit. Because like I said, I have this zest for life that I just wanted to just share it with everyone. And many times, not everyone is prepared for it or ready for it in that moment. So as you can see, a person who is a high I, wired I, is a personality that is magnetic. People are drawn to your ability to tell a story or to make them laugh. I've had personal experience where I've spoke at an event, and I had someone, who waited in line to, just say hello, shake my hand, and this person said, I just loved your presentation. It was so exciting, and I just loved it, and I just was curious, and I just said, oh, so what part of the presentation did you like? And she answered, well, I really didn't understand what you said or what you talked about, but it just made me feel good. And so that's the power that someone who is wired as a high I has, that type of influence, that energy that we already introduced. The definition in our definition of leadership. It's energy, it's influence. And so the possible careers for someone who is a high I could be an actor or an actress, a music artist, some type of a planner. It could be an event planner, a community manager. Very much out there, needs to communicate in a very broad way. Sales professionals are high I's. And so if you know someone who is successful, a successful salesperson, real estate agents, especially brokers, they are typically high I's. And look at the bottom of the list, public speakers. And so I don't think it's by accident that I found myself in this profession of teaching and coaching and speaking, because it basically speaks to this attribute that I have fully developed. And so that's a high I. S wired. What did you score on the S? The S represents someone who is usually steady and supportive. You are typically easygoing and relaxed. You are patient, well-balanced, sympathetic, and reliable. You typically need a peaceful environment, and in your relationships is what you seek. You are most comfortable with people, you are most comfortable as part of a team, as opposed to being the leader of the team. Your typical response might be, what's everybody doing? Okay, I want to be a part of it. Or, let's do this. Okay, so why don't you lead it, and, just tell us what you need to do, what you want us to do. And so it's that participation approach that you have about being in a group as part of a team. Now, you easily defer decisions to others, but you need to remember to make your own choices known. And that speaks to the leadership aspect of this attribute. And because you can be very comfortable, and to a certain extent you can be very accommodating, and to the almost accommodating, and so you just you're okay. You don't have to be on the lead, but pay note that expressing your views and contributing to that team is a very important element for you to remind yourself, knowing that you are this individual who is balanced. And balanced individuals have a lot of wisdom, and they practice it in their approach to problems, to challenges, and that is to help many people. So it's kind of you go beyond the me to the you, and so you have a tendency to want to provide guidance, some kind of advice. And so a career that would be excellent for someone who is a high S would be like a life coach. I've done some executive coaching as part of my work, life coaching, just listening to people and see where they are in their life, and giving advice. Nurses would be an excellent a nurse would be an excellent career path. Veterinarian, you work with animals, you have this empathy, and you have owners of these animals that they just want their pets to be healthy, and you provide this sense of almost counseling many times that comfort them when their animals are not well. Pastors make excellent, would be an excellent profession, and educators, teachers are very much high S's. Counselors, I mentioned already. So these are just some, and this is not exclusive, but if you find yourself with this type of attribute, and you're thinking ahead as to what do I want to do later, as a career, or do I want to be a business owner, do I want to be in sports, or should I just be a musician, and these are some starting points for us to consider as we get to know ourselves better. Now, last but not least, C-wired. This represents someone who is usually calculated and competent. And I love my talk about C's because most of my students are C's. And it's very interesting to talk about these qualities because many of them are shared across the room. C's, you're typically reserved and task-oriented. You like to do research, you are creative, and very orderly. You're very organized, very methodical. You need accuracy almost in everything you do. And in that sense, it could be a good thing or a bad thing, just depending to what degree. But how could it be wrong, right? That you want to be correct and accurate. You are most comfortable with details, but you're drawn to people who are more outgoing. That's an interesting reality about C's. Generally, C's tend to be by themselves, tend to just spend a lot of time reading or thinking, and so the social aspect many times is as a result of a friendship. One of your classmates might make a suggestion, let's do something that normally you wouldn't do by yourself, and so then this social engagement is something that you're drawn to, and many times need that in order to get out of your little world, so to speak. And then lastly, so it's okay to remember, it's for you to seek out solitude, because this is what energizes you, what kind of keeps you in your zone, if I can use that expression. So you see there on the screen that you are comfortable with and prefer details. You excel at planning and organizing, and you are, look at that, capital letters, focused. You are very focused on long-range goals. So for you, everything is about planning, organizing, and keeping things in a type of structure, so to speak. Possible career paths for a high C? Well, software developer, accountant, lawyer, scientist, computer engineer, financial analyst. And so these are the areas where you will have a high probability of success, and you will be most comfortable in. So now that we've learned about each of these letters, D-I-S-C, I want you to know that we are a blend of all. And so we are have a higher propensity in one area than we do in another. So you could be a high D and not so much an S, but you have a little bit of these elements in your personality, in your character. And so when you score high on a certain aspect, it simply means that that is the propensity of your behavior is to act in that way, whatever the attribute is. And so that in itself is how you lead, how you move forward. And if you do that, that puts you in your comfort zone. That puts you in a space where this is you. This is how you do things. And we're all different. We're all different. Now you could be paired, you could be matched with a partner, a classmate in a team project. At home, you might find yourself, your mom and you are both high D's. And what happens when that exists? You both almost compete for decisions, because you want to make a decision, your mom wants to make a decision, and so that's the relationship that's there. And so is there a perfect matching? Not necessarily, but it's helpful to have a balanced matching when you're dealing with wanting to lead versus having to follow. And so at home, you could manage the family relationship best if you have some kind of balance, in terms of these characteristics. And you can say that about friendships and in school, and then of course when you're out in the community. So this is information just to help you get to know what are your tendencies. And so knowing that about you is then going to help you with our discussion as we get into leading others. And how do you do that? How do you lead others when you're a high D and you make these quick decisions, but those that you're trying to guide, those that your followers don't respond in the same way, and then typically, not always, but a strong D, they get restless, they get frustrated. I'll just do it myself is typically another action that they practice because you want something done right, you just do it yourself, and so that reduces their leadership. That actually makes it quite ineffective. The person might be highly successful, but has a real challenge with leading followers. An example that I can give you of Elon Musk as one. Highly successful individual, very intelligent, highly intelligent. But is he a good leader? Is he able to manage, develop and grow an organization? Well, clearly he has demonstrated that success, but we all know that he doesn't do it himself. He does it through his team, his management team, and so then those individuals are charged with that responsibility in terms of leadership. But my experience tells me that the pattern that I have noticed, experienced, observed with the thousands of entrepreneurs that I've had the privilege of working with is that the pattern is that generally entrepreneurs have a challenge with leadership because they know the business. They know it from inside out. They created it, and so they know. And so you will, for those of you in business majors or aspired, to be in business, that'll be like the stepping stone to your growth as an entrepreneur, because yeah, you know it, you know everything about it, about the business because you created it. But then, how do you develop it? How do you grow it? And so you'll find out quickly that you can't do it yourself. And if you do it yourself, it'll have a limit, a ceiling in terms of the the growth of your business, and that is what my experience tells me. Now, as you learn about these attributes that exist, and this is just one assessment. I mentioned there are many. There's another that I recommend. It's really kind of fun to do. It's called 16personalities.com. You can go on there and go through similar kind of questions. It's far more questions than 19, but then it gives you an avatar at the end that explains the result of your responses to those questions, and it's really nice. I encourage you to do that. Again, to just get another perspective about you, and what do these responses say about you. And the interesting part about this exercise is that you may agree, or you may not. But I think if you look at it objectively, at least with this exercise, I'm going to just suggest that in all likelihood it's actually pretty accurate, and I hope you agree with that statement. If it's not exactly and explains you, it's perhaps you just need to take some additional assessments to give you a broader perspective. And some of the questions, some of the assessments that I've done, and be hundreds of questions, and after a while I'm like, how many different ways can you ask the same question? But it's very interesting because the more comprehensive it is, the better gauge it has on explaining not who you are, but what is your behavior. And that's really what this exercise is about. We're trying to get to this question about leadership. We learned what it is, we've defined it now, and we want to quickly now get to this, how does it happen, and what's the difference, or how do you go from a good leader to a great leader, and so on. And so this is the starting point. So digest this, take it all in, think about it, put it aside, and then revisit it, and do other assessments. And the more you get to learn about you, the better your opportunity is going to be to improve your leadership. Something else that I strongly recommend is that you talk to people, ask them to give you feedback. You might want to find an exercise, and there are many that say, just hand it to someone and say, do me a favor, can you answer these questions about me? And it's better when you don't know the person that is giving you those answers, because sometimes your response might be, really, is that what you think about me? But it's meant to be objective, so it should be done anonymously when possible. And it's called a 360-degree exercise, and then it's just getting an overall response to some of these questions that again you might be aware of in terms of your behavior and how you think, and in many instances you'll be shocked that you're doing something that maybe you just thought nothing about. Sometimes, what happens is with a certain attributes of this DISC, you can identify when there was one question that said, when you speak, do you think about what you're going to say, or do you just say it? And a response to it is sometimes, I just speak what's on my mind. Well, that sounds like quick and efficient, but it's not necessarily effective. And when you're leading others, sometimes, the words that you share can be very uninspiring, can be actually destructive. I want you to think about that in this way, that, one of the recommendations that I make for leaders is to expand your vocabulary. And the reason for that is because the more vocabulary you have, the more opportunity you have to better express something. And that's important because, again, go back to, we started talking about the little organ in our head. Each one of us has one of these guys. And so you don't know, how people are going to take in, information and what they're going to do with it. The perception, that reality that's created, that exists for them is very different from yours. And so for some people that just kind of, I just say, speak what's on my mind. Well, it may work for you, but it won't work for others. And so one thing I want you to remember about words is that it isn't so much the words that you express as much as the meaning that people attach to those words. Okay? And when I use the term meaning, think in terms of the heart, the emotion. One word, for example, stupid. It's just a word. And if I say it, this is stupid, it's not a big deal. But to someone else that may have had an experience with the word stupid, maybe they've personalized it, they've internalized it. And maybe over time, they were called stupid. And you're not calling them stupid. You say what happened is stupid, but because maybe they contributed to that incident, they feel stupid. And then it starts creating, all these emotions. And in terms of leadership, they may just you just drop the notch, in your stock value, if I can put it in that way for my business majors, just dropped. And so these are things that just happen instantly, and you may not be aware of it. So again, the more you understand about you, understanding, you're a high D or you're a high C, you're an I, and this will give you an understanding of your toolbox. What do I do? How, what should I use? I should say it this way. I should, think about it this way. I know this is what I want, but that may not necessarily be what they want. So these are the constant questions that are going to begin to develop as you move along in your development, growth, and leadership. So where do we go from here? Well, the next thing that I want you to ponder is think in terms of strengths and what you know as weaknesses. Having mentioned that I want you to grow your vocabulary, and leaders, we have our own vocabulary. And I want you to think in terms of this term weakness as an area of improvement, an area of growth. Okay, so starting from today, I want you to go to your dictionary and just cross out weakness and replace it with improvement and growth. Okay, and this is why. So we learned that D's, a quick summary, is that they're born leaders. Okay, it's just because it's natural. They're dynamic, decisive, goal-oriented. They seek practical solutions quickly. They lead, organize, and they excel in emergencies. That's a very important attribute that I find myself many times in dire situations and emergencies. Many people panic, and they start, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And there's this need for immediate response. I, on the other hand, I get quiet, I get focused, and I operate in a very cool, calm, and collected way when there's an emergency, and so I quickly zero in on the solution. We go this way, we go that way, and so these are things that represent strength, for a D. On the other hand, the area of improvement for Ds, high Ds especially, is to realize that others may be right. See, because Ds want to take charge and just control, not giving the opportunity for the possibility that somebody else has a better solution. An area of growth for Ds is to lead and not push. Again, dominance, determination. So the tendency is to just push people around. Do this, do that, and so that's deflating from a leadership perspective. What you want your leaders to do is to guide, not push. Take time for family. A lot of leaders, have a tendency to just stay focused on the work, and then they are not as willing to spend time just simply relaxing, being with family. Practice encouraging others. Again, D's, take charge. Why don't you do it myself? As opposed to, why don't you help me with this? And then you empower people. That's something that I would recommend for high Ds. And lastly, learning to put others first. And that's gonna be a big part later in our discussion as we move forward about leadership in itself. Many people would define it as, being first, being the lead, and bringing your followers with you. It's actually the opposite. It's about putting others first, ahead of you, and then you giving that support, that guidance, that direction that they will need. And so we'll talk more about that. So we're talking about strengths and areas of improvement and growth. Now, again, to repeat, the career paths for Ds, we discussed those already, but I'll just put it in a statement that Ds need room to grow. And so any opportunity career that allows for that is where a D will excel. What about an I? Again, quickly, Is are outgoing. They make friends easily. They're emotional, inspirational, high energy, creative, and very good speakers. On the other hand, their areas of improvement is to learn to make lists and schedules. Sometimes these are just so busy wanting to just, doing, speaking, engaging, that the details, fill out the report, weekly reports, for example, that happens in many organizations. That's something that they don't want to do. Create PowerPoints and structure. They'd rather have someone help them with that. And so to partner with someone who can provide some accountability to what you do is an area of growth for people that are high I wired. And so again, these individuals generally they're seeking a form of recognition. It's just simply they're driven by this energy, and so they need followers that will engage with them in this dream, if you will, that they have, and that's how they lead. S's, strengths, easygoing, well-balanced, quiet, agreeable, good listener, very consistent, reliable, dependability. And then the areas of growth would be to get a little more comfortable speaking up, because again, you're more willing to be a part of the group as opposed to leading the group. But make sure you speak up. Make sure you make your points your points are well taken and considered especially in team building situations, which we're going to talk about as well. How do you team build when you're not getting all the input of everyone, and so that's very important. And one of the common responses that I's make that is an area of improvement is, it may sound in many different forms, but it typically comes down to, I don't care. It's kind of like this, it doesn't matter. I'm okay. I'm okay with either way. Sometimes I find I observe in relationships, couples, they're getting ready to, go out to dinner, and the question comes up, right? So where do you want to go? What do you want to eat? What do you want? And I'll hear the other say, doesn't matter. I don't care. Whatever. and so it's just a response. It's a mechanism that happens generally with high S's. They're just kind of, I'll go wherever you want to go. So it's a good thing to be very agreeable, easygoing, and but at the same time, you want to be careful with that response. And so it comes down to learning to take action. Where would a high S do well in a profession, in a career? In mediation. In a profession where you have to listen to both sides. Okay. In counseling, just in areas of psychology, maybe psychiatry as well, to listen and then to come up with a solution. These are areas where wherever you have an opportunity to practice listening and at a deeper level, high S's do exceptionally well in those professions. And then again, my C's, very analytical, neat, organized, creative, conscientious, seek detail, deep thinkers. Those are strengths. And the areas of growth would be to accept others that are not as perfect, learn to be more realistic, because again, this desire for precision, almost perfection, isn't always best in situations where leadership requires just a tad less of that perfection. We just need to be able to move forward. And if it isn't exactly to perfection, then many times this is where C's tend to be a little more resistant. We're going to miss that by 10%, and later that's not going to be. They come up with these justifications for stopping, and so sometimes that's perceived by others as negative. He's just so negative. Focus on the positive. And so salespeople, accountants sometimes have that challenge. Salespeople want to solve everything with one extra sale, and accountants want to solve the same problem with one less cost. One less dollar spent, and so you have that relationship, that dynamic. But this is again an area of growth, for C's. And so again, what field would you do especially well in if you're a high C? And it's generally an area where there's a skill of precision. NASA, jet propulsion company, some kind of science where you can demonstrate, your skill set at the highest level. So, in summary, then let's remember this. So, how do you want to create a future where you can shine, given your attributes and what you've learned about you, and where your strength is, and where your area of improvement lies? Is to, first of all, you start by dreaming big, and so cast a vision for yourself. Where would you like to be in 2 years? Where would you like to be in 5 or 10? Who would you like to be working with or for? The lifestyle that you seek. These are questions that are ahead of you. 10 years, I have to admit, many things can happen. But if you have this desire, this endpoint where you like to go to, then bring it up to 5 years. I would say 2 years. 2 years is relatively very manageable. You are in charge of many things that will provide a result in 2 years, and then even closer than that. Sometimes by semester. Something where you are monitoring this progress is the key to achieving this big dream that you may have for yourself. The next point is to be prepared. Okay, now this is a big one because accomplishing your dreams will require work, time, sacrifice, commitment. You already know what I'm talking about. How many of your friends are probably out having fun, doing other things that require less effort, but you're at home, you're doing your homework, you're doing, activities, you have a schedule. And so a lot of times, I know it's not easy, but it's a commitment. So you identify your strengths and you commit to sharpening your skills because you have a goal, you have a dream. And maybe up until now, to a large extent, it's been your parents' dream, but it's going to quickly transition into your dream. And the reason that happens or needs to happen is because you're the one who's going to live this life. You're going to achieve this incredible achievement. Let's just say you get you graduate from Harvard, one of the Ivy League schools, USC, Stanford, and and then what? And so, this is important for you to be preparing and to learn. The one reality about it is to don't do it alone. Oftentimes, remember my high D's, I'll just do it. If you want something done right, I'll just do it myself. You're going to need help. You can't do everything by yourself. And so learn to get help from your parents, family members, teachers, even trusted friends. Now be careful with the friends part because find someone that you truly, absolutely trust. And it may not be all of them. Find one that you can just share, your life with, and hopefully it's objective response that you get from that sharing. Now, on a more professional level, I make a recommendation to seek out a mentor, a guidance counselor of sorts. Not so much your school counselor, but it could be. But someone that can be there and just talk. And be able to just share their insight. Here's my recommendation. You don't need one mentor, you need two. What I want you to think about and do is to find one mentor that is doing what you want to do, say as a career, is already living, experiencing the life that you would like to have. Likes what you like, and so it's like I call it being on the same page, and so that person it would be an excellent mentor for you because you can connect, you can relate, you can You both almost agree on everything, and the challenge with that is that it's very myopic. It's too narrow. It's only one direction. What I like you to consider is another mentor who is completely the opposite of you, who's probably in an area that you have maybe no interest in whatsoever. Someone that is more general, someone that just has a lot of experience in many different parts of life, and maybe careers. And so that person gives you a broader perspective, the bigger things in life, if you will. That person is going to help you to expand your mind. The other person, mentor, is going to help you to stay focused. But if you can have this balance of expansion, that's going to give you the greater degree of growth. I'll put it that way. You can only develop so much by staying focused and doing one thing. Professional athletes, this is a common condition of super athletes, people that achieve the highest level of success, in their sport. I'm thinking of Tom Brady, American football player, I don't know, thinking 6 Super Bowls or something to that effect. It's like, how much more can he achieve? He's achieved it all. But when in the context of leadership, I look at that person as, wow, this person's only done one thing, only has one view, only has one answer. I may be wrong, but that's a very good chance that his development, not knowing everything about him, but if that person could be you to expand that thinking, to be able to think about many things and to look at them in many different ways. These are the things that are going to help you with your success as an individual. And so we've reached the conclusion on this part of learning about you. I want, as we get into the next part of the discussion on leading others, I want you to revisit this discussion about strengths and areas of improvement. So as a homework assignment, what I would like you to do is to make a list of 20 strengths. I know it sounds like a lot, but I want you to think about 20 strengths. And I also want you to make a list of 20 areas of improvement. Okay, 20 strengths and 20 areas of improvement. Now, in the past, I've had students tell me, after 3, 4, 5, I couldn't think of more. Try. This is an exercise that you should not just do it in 5 minutes. I want you to take your time with it. No time limit. But and if you need help with, coming up with that list, ask your parents, ask your friends, ask your teacher, ask, people that know you, and just to help you, get to this list of 20. And the same thing with the 20 areas of improvement. You'll be surprised how that list could be easily a lot greater than just 20, but you can stop at 20. Okay. And then what I want you to do with that list is I want you to pick one strength that you are very much aware of. And I want you to tell me about it. I want you to tell me, when does it happen? What situation do you find yourself in that then that's the strength you go to? It's your default. How long have you been using that strength? Do you only use it when you need to, or do you live by it? This is how you live every day, the minute you get out of bed to when you go to bed. And then more importantly, I want you to tell me how it makes you feel. Does it make you feel good? It is a strength, so I would hope so. But really tell me, how does it make you feel? Does it make you feel successful? Does it make you feel like you're not a quitter? Like, does it make you feel like, no matter how bad a situation is, I'm going to figure it out? And that's a good feeling. People admire you, compliment you for it. Is that kind of response. I want you to really, ponder, the point. And then do the same with the area of improvement. I want you to tell me, when does it happen? How long has it been happening? And how does it make you feel? And, you'll be, I think, you'll find it interesting to know that, just when you think you were, it's only you, you'll find that in a lot of these areas of improvement and growth, there are thousands, millions, of other students like you that experience that. And so it's just fascinating to talk about it, because just when you think it's only you, no, this is pretty common. But I want you to come up with those, and some of many of you will yeah, me too, that kind of response. But the important thing is that it's you. Okay, and so now we've come to the point where how we are now understanding ourselves in a much better way, and then we're going to get into leading others, and then so how are you going to transfer this energy, your leadership, right? And knowing what you know about you, how are you going to use that in order to motivate someone else, and more importantly, to take action, on that influence that you will have. And this is my last point on this class about this important area of leadership, and that is, I've had some students tell me, I'm not a leader. Worse yet, I don't want to be a leader. And here's my answer. You're a leader whether you like it or not, whether you accept it or not. You have influence, and it's just you choose to use this influence in a way that you negate this motivation, or in inaction that you don't care almost about whether or not someone is going to listen to you or not. Now, I will argue with you that in terms of sociology, you want to be different. You want to be unique. You don't want to be like everybody else. Well, I hate to tell you that, what's eventually going to happen, at least what sociology explains, is that you're going to end up in a group of other individuals just like you. So you're always going to be in a group. And by definition, if you're in a group, there's going to be leadership that's expected at some point in time. And you just choose your leadership to be a rather negative one. And if that's your choice, so be it. But nonetheless, we are all leaders. And so there's this potential inside that, you can, it'll rise. And so then whatever that leadership will look like is what basically will explain you as an individual. So we've gone through this definition, we've gone through the understanding of characteristics, and so now we've arrived at a point where we're going to get right into the heart of the matter, and probably the key part of leadership, which is learning how to lead others. So I look forward to the next class, and we'll begin then.